Okay, so now that we've all had a few days to digest Intrepid's announcement, how about we talk about how it's going to turn out? After all, people have been dooming ever since they found out. Now, don't get me wrong, I think this is a bad idea too. The game isn't ready for public consumption, especially with a price tag of any kind. But as I've said in other videos, a game going into early access can be successful only if the game is good when it's released into early access. Unfortunately, that's where Ashes of Creation falls short. Ashes is a decent game. They focused on combat, and the classes feel really good for the most part. But what players can actually do with that combat is the problem. Additionally, the artisan systems aren't fully fleshed out yet, and I think we all have a fear of how the economy will turn out in its current iteration, while we wait and wonder what changes Intrepid made to recipes to make them better. With only a month of time left of Alpha 3, or at this point a couple of weeks, they're focusing on optimization and functionality of the game, leaving many of the long-standing feedback issues unresolved until after the early access launch. This means that the current iteration of the systems we have in place will probably stay as they are. As an example, we'll be petting animals until they die in order to hunt them for the foreseeable future. While many of us alpha folks have resigned to the jank of the game in its alpha state and have embraced the suck, early access on Steam is a completely different story. People will be buying the game to play it and enjoy their time doing so. Intrepid can call it an early access title, an alpha, a test, or emphasize its unfinished state all they like. But people have other games in early access to compare it to, and that's where Intrepid's going to find that these new players aren't nearly as forgiving as their alpha audience. Schedule 1 is an early access game. It's unfinished and has features being added as time goes on. 7 Days to Die was in early access for like a decade and never died or fizzled out. Valheim is still in early access, I think, along with Enshrouded. Satisfactory and Baldur's Gate were in early access, but they actually got released recently. Well, not recently, like within the year, right? But what do all of these games have in common as early access titles? They didn't feel like early access titles. Oh, Palworld. Palworld's another one. They felt like complete experiences that ran well and periodically had content added until the day it was released as an officially launched complete game. Now answer honestly, do you think that Ashes of Creation can change enough in a month from what you've seen from alpha gameplay to an early access game that feels like a complete experience? Something that players unfamiliar with Ashes, or the average Joe Steam enjoyer, will come into Ashes and play and enjoy and get stuck in the Ashes world. I have my doubts. All of the issues many of us have with the game come after that. A running economy, satisfying PvP, engaging PvE, a running economy, satisfying PvP, engaging PvE, a flourishing player economy that can quickly recover when a guild decides to exploit to their heart's content, a gathering and crafting system that doesn't feel like a monotonous chore, and a grind that only players with 10 hours a day to spare can endure. But here's the thing, we don't have to worry about whether Intrepid can pull this off or not. They do. Yes, we'll lose a game we've been waiting years for if they fail, but Intrepid will lose that time in blood, sweat, and tears. Steven and his team have so much more riding on this early access launch succeeding, and with that kind of pressure, they'll either endure it and create what could be the greatest player-driven MMO we've ever seen, or they'll choke and we'll end up with another PAX day. Now, I'm just a coconut, and unfortunately, I can give advice until I'm blue in the face, but Intrepid will continue to do whatever Intrepid thinks is best. All I have to do is sit back and see how it all turns out and support them if I think the game is worth supporting. Or, if it's not, I can go back to No Man's Sky, Nightingale, or Where Winds Meet to spend my time instead. Of course, I'll be jumping into the PTR to check it out as the time goes and up until the December launch, but as soon as I get bored, I'm going to be jumping ship into Where Winds Meet. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in the PTR testing things, especially the early access, the early game experience for the 18th time, just to run into the same issues and bugs that I've seen every other time that I've tested it. The reason I'm sharing that is because literally every other Ashes of Creation Steam Early Access player will do the same thing. If Ashes can't hold their players' attention, alpha state or not, moving to Steam in order to gain a wider player base will be a complete bust. The timing really couldn't have been worse for Intrepid, but that's where they're at, and they've got to work through it regardless. But again, that's not our problem as players. Regardless of what anyone says, we'll all find out how all of this turns out after December 11th. Considering the time investment required, I'll simply play whatever game I enjoy the most. And right now, that's Where Winds Meet. What would have been Ashes a month ago, and then No Man's Sky 2 weeks after that, and just last week I was more interested in Nightingale. Player tastes change, and if Ashes of Creation can't hold player attention on Steam, those players have a wide array of other options to play. If Intrepid succeeds, great. If they don't, well, as we've established, there are other games. But even Steven said that Ashes might not be for some people. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. You're welcome.